Hey there, my name is Fela Abioye, and this is How to Corporate, my digital show about how successful professionals navigate career moves and money matters. Today's topic, how to invest in real estate with my guest, Junious Williams IV. Emphasis on the fourth. Yeah, man. Junious, man, appreciate you joining us today. This is definitely going to be a very special topic. Talking about real estate, talking about wealth and the financial aspect of, just growing one's own wealth, I think is something that all of us should be talking about if you haven't already. And I think Junious brings a really, really unique perspective to it. Junious is a real estate development manager. He's done residential, he's done commercial, he's managed over $100 million worth of development projects in the greater Houston area. He's also a founder and managing partner of Stratford Capital Partners, which is a real estate development firm and investment firm. And one of his current projects, the Grand Park Square, which is in 3rd Ward, Houston, if you know anything about Houston, has been nominated as a finalist for the Greater Houston Black Chamber 2021 Pinnacle Award and Upstart Award. So that's just a little bit basics. Yeah, yes, hurrah. Slow clap. Yeah, for sure. Big ups. So, man, again, first and foremost, man, appreciate you for joining us. So,
absolutely. Thank you. And, you're an investor in Grand Park Square, so project wouldn't happen without support from, all of our partners, financial partners, vendor partners, broker partners. Man, it's not just me. And the Pinnacle Awards are actually this Saturday. So we'll see if we won.
So I guess, man, you want to maybe just start from the beginning to maybe tell folks who are listening just a little bit about yourself, man, a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so I'm a native Houstonian. Actually, I tell people now I went to the University of Houston 3 times. First to get my civil engineering degree, and I'm a licensed engineer in the state of Texas. I went back to get my MBA with the focus in real estate and real estate development. And now I'm back for a 3rd time as an adjunct professor in the Bauer College of Business, teaching graduate students real estate development. When I graduated college the first time, I worked for 4 years as a consulting engineer to land developers. And I really, really liked land development. I was an intern at the engineering company when I was in school, and the company I worked for did the Woodlands, they did Wood Trace, they did Sienna, they did Cinco Ranch. I mean, you would see these huge land plans, 1,000-lot master plan communities, or maybe they're not calling them that, primary plan communities, whatever. And I was like, man, this is awesome. So I really wanted to learn about that. And eventually, after working for a number of years for the developers and getting yelled at by the developers, I wanted to be on the development side. I wanted to be on the business side and be more or less the guy trying to call the shots and trying to get everybody pointed in the right direction. Worked at Ashton Woods for the last 4 years. So, I've been in development for the last 7 years. So really, really, really enjoy what I do.
Yeah, no, man, that's awesome. That's interesting because, I guess if you think about civil engineering, maybe it's a natural progression, right? From, working in land development to real estate. It's kind of goes hand in hand. It makes sense.
They do kind of go hand in hand. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I guess what was it for you, right? Like what made you make that leap, right? You're clearly, working in that realm, but was it something in particular that just was like, man, this is, engineering is not what I thought it was going to be, or this just seems like way cooler than what I, went to school for?
Like most engineers, I think I can say this. Most engineers don't like being engineers. Most engineers don't like being engineers. It's a highly, highly technical field. Mm-hmm. I didn't feel like I could be the best engineer in the city of Houston. Mm-hmm. I didn't feel like I'd have my own engineering company one day. That was never the goal. Whereas on the development side, because there's so many different aspects in design, construction, obviously engineering, brokers, there's lending partners, equity partners, there's so many different moving parts that has really fit my personality more. I always, like when I was in grade school, I played basketball. I was always a point guard, even though I was tall and I liked. It's kind of the same thing. You're kind of the point guard, the quarterback of the project, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna throw it to you because you the big man, you rebound. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna get it to this guy because he can build things. So it's kind of the same thing. You're kind of like the linchpin in all these different industries, and I just enjoyed it more. It's a little more fast paced, and man, that engineering, man. No. I passed the PE, the engineering exam, and I was like, this is it. I'm done. I'm not doing this. Like I got my stamp and stuff. I haven't stamped, sealed anything.
Yep.
And I don't plan to.
No, man, it's funny because I felt like I know a lot of people kind of this same route, right? Like, okay, we went to school. You have a degree in X, maybe in a law, attorney, right? And you got a legal degree, but you're not really a practicing lawyer, right? Like whatsoever. But I think what's important for that is, for folks that are listening, you don't have to necessarily just do what you went to school for, right? And I think that's the common misconception that we were kind of taught, or at least taught, growing up was, okay, you went to school, you got a degree, and that was your field, right? That's what you did, right? Based on whatever it is your degree. But I mean, I feel like, especially in today's world, it doesn't really matter what your degree is in, sure, half the time, it may not matter if you have a degree, honestly. So, it's, I think it just really changed the landscape, just really based on, what you want to do and the ability to say, okay, I have this technical knowledge, I have this degree, I got a certification, but I'm going to do something else. I think that takes a little bit of courage too, because, a lot of times people will just stick it out and say, look, man, I done poured X number of years, all of this, I done all this equity into this career. I'm not about to abandon it, even though they're miserable.
Dude, I think my mom cries every time I tell her I'm not. She wanted like all of her, a number of her brothers are engineers. My dad was an engineer. I got a cousin that's an engineer. And when I told her, I was like, nah, I don't want to do this anymore. I was talking to her on the phone. I could just hear like the tear coming down her cheek. Like, why don't you? And even now she'd be like, sure, you don't want to go back to engineering? I'm like, no, I'm sure. Right. So
like, Mom, you don't see what I'm doing here?
I mean, it definitely meant a lot to her. I mean, I don't mind sharing. I mean, I went to school undergrad for 6 years. I mean, I was 3 years electrical engineering major. No. So I had 3 more. I switched majors.
Yeah.
3 more years to finish the engineering degree. Felt like I lost you again. Oh, you're back. Okay. But I got the PE. That was the one thing I was like, okay, like lots of us will do things for our parents. I'm like, look, I got the PE. Put that on the wall, and you could still tell people I'm an engineer. Technically, I feel. And my license is active, so just don't ask me to stamp anything. But
yeah, no, but it's funny because I think that's a part of a lot of people's story. I know it was definitely a part of mine. So it's doing things because of family or doing things because your parents, like similar to you, right? I got the sister and cousins and all these other people that are pharmacists. And that was the route that I was supposed to go. And that was the route that I was going. And I just learned over time, man, this isn't really for me. So, but it took me a while to finally just accept that and just move on right to something else. But man, I'm so happy that I did because,
you only get to be here one time. You got to maximize whoever your personality is.
Exactly.
And I know some pharmacists trying to get out of pharmacy.
I know a lot. I know a lot. There's no knock to pharmacists. All right. I don't know anybody who's a pharmacist.
No, they're actively trying out. So
yeah. Like I said, I know a good number of people who aren't necessarily happy with what they're doing, and it's just for the sake of going to school. And I know that's not necessarily the direction we were going here, but I think it's important to talk about that because, again, too many times we do things for the sake of other people, whether our family, or because we think it's the right thing to do, or it looks good on paper, or because we think it makes a lot of money. And that's not really, doesn't always work out that way as far as motivation wise, when you don't really, do something you have passion in, right? Nobody had to tell you to go and get a master's, right? In real estate, no one had to tell you, hey,
right.
You want to be an adjunct professor, a real estate professor. No one had to tell you to do that. It was a natural thing because you enjoy what you do. So
absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. So, yeah, cool, man. So staying in the realm of, pulling it back a little bit, right? Your first real estate investment, like your first project, whether it be personal or whatever, right? Like, what was that? Was it, I don't know, buying your first home or buying a single family home? Like, what was that, and how did you get started?
Yeah, I guess I'll talk about probably two deals. I mean, obviously the first one was buying my house. Bought my house in 2011, my primary residence in 2011. I bought it right before I got married. And mind you, this was 2011. Yeah, so we were coming out of 08, 09, and the debacle, financial crisis. So they still, even 2 years later, they still had foreclosures. And so I bought a foreclosure that was maybe worth $130,000, and I bought it for $100,000. And it needed a little bit of work, but I'm like, man, I think I was 2 years in career at that time, and I was putting money in my 401k, and I was seeing, like a 7 to 8% return. I'm like, man, my net worth is just going through the roof. And even though I was probably negative, I had student loans, and then in one transaction, $30,000 in net worth, and I was like, okay, I need to do more research.
There's something to
this. Like, there's something real about this. And I started networking. I went to a lot of real estate events, and there's a lot of really good ones around town, especially now. But 10 years ago, I went to a real estate investment group and people how to buy single family houses. So my first single family rental I bought, and this is going to sound crazy in 2021 terms, but it was 3 beds, 2 bath, 1,600 square feet, and I bought it for $58,000. And I financed it hard money, and I brought $5,000 to closing.
Bring back those numbers for me, please. Bring back those numbers.
About 2 years, the house appraised for like $100,000. And I went back to a lender and I refinanced and I cashed out $22,000 in 2 years on a $5,000 investment. So kind of hooked after that. And I remember writing the contract because I bought it from a wholesaler, and we wrote the contract literally on the hood of his car. And it was like $3,000 hard earnest money. Like, I needed to wire him the funds by the end of the day. And I remember my hand was just like even more shaky as I wired him $3,000 that was non-refundable. But the deal worked out, and I don't think I'm gonna find a deal like that anytime soon.
Man, hey, if you do, please let me know about that. Well, so okay, so I don't want that to go over people's head, right? Hard money loan. Like, what can you maybe just brief explanation? Like, what is?
Yeah.
Right?
So the house needed some repairs. Typical lenders, mortgage companies, traditional lending won't lend on houses that need repair, and a hard money lender will give you a loan based on what the property would be worth after repair, and they'll give you 70 to 75% of that cost. So I bought the property, and mind you, it's been a couple of years, but let's say I bought the property for $60,000 to make the math easy. It needed $5,000 in repairs. It was worth $80,000 after it was fixed up. So they gave me 75% of the after repaired value. So 75 of 80,000 is 60,000. At least I hope so. doing math in my head there. And then, I had to bring 5,000 to close. Where if I would have bought that traditionally $60,000 purchase, I would have had to put 20% down. So I'd have to put 12,000 down, and I'd have to do the repairs myself. So I would have put $17,000 down. Not the same deal at that point.
Yeah,
3 times the money that I put down. It was literally, we closed on that October 2013, and I got married March 2014. And Jesus Christ, I hope those dates are right. Pretty sure I got married March 2014. If I'm wrong, Jesus, what a mistake. But I remember I cashed out, because I switched companies. I cashed out my 401k, and I was like, man, I could just use this money to pay for the wedding. I was like, man, it's just a one-day thing. I want to buy more rental property and set our family up. And man, we had a knockdown, drag-out fight. But then I knew she was the one. Felix, she was like, you're probably right. You should do the real estate deal, and we'll figure out the wedding later. So got married, did the deal. The deal played out. $22,000 later. Happy wife, happy life.
Awesome, man. Now, Russell, I know that was a quick rundown, man, but I think there's a lot of lessons. I think even just in the initial, process of you doing it, right? I mean, like I said, 5,000, depending on where you are in life, that can be a lot of money, So, and especially when you don't have a lot, right? So when you got to put that down, that's a lot to think about. But I think it's important, and we'll kind of get into it as we continue the conversation, is that, I mean, there's different levels of real estate, right? And there's multiple levels. So I think there's opportunities to get in where you fit in, right? So where it makes sense for you.
Right.
That's the important part, because I think sometimes, there's a misconception that, man, I got to have a lot of money down, or I have a lot of cash or a lot of equity or whatever the case may be, just to even, take a step in. And but that's not always true, right? So it just really depends on the situation, depends on the deal and how you want to structure it.
Yeah, no, that's very true. I mean, I was a part of a really good group, investor group, and I was highly educated when I made that decision. So, and they had like a hotline you could call, and I asked every question you could imagine, and they were like, "Nah, man, this sounds like it's gonna work. You just got to pull the trigger." So, it wasn't just me out there by myself. I think I had a couple of my friends come by and look at it as well. Just, it's a team sport. So if they saw something that I didn't see, obviously they would have let me know. But you gotta pull the trigger at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, man, well said. No, definitely just gotta jump. So, for some people, real estate, right, is, like we talked about before, is like kind of being daunting, or it's confusing because it's just a lot of numbers, a lot of jargon, amortization, all this other kind of stuff, right, that you may or may not know what it is. Why do you think it's important for folks to really learn the process of real estate investing, right, before just jumping in?
Yeah, I think that's the risky part, is not knowing what you're doing, and I do think there's risk in trying to do it all on your own. But why I think it's important to invest in real estate is, it is the tried and true generational real estate, generational wealth building asset in America. So, for anyone to be an American and not understand how, U.S. real estate works, you're probably passing up wonderful opportunities, especially in Houston and Texas, as people continue to move here. You're seeing properties that were worth $1,000 10 years ago are probably worth $200,000. And
listen, I wish I owned some Austin. I wish I owned some Austin property about 15 years ago, right?
It's just ridiculous, and just the appreciation in values over the last 4 to 5 years. It's just been incredible. So it's something that you gotta have someone in your network, or someone that that has some expertise in real estate. That way you can tap into arguably the best asset class to invest in America.
Awesome. No, man, I think that's well said. Like you said, it's you don't have to do it on your own. It's key, it's key in numbers and knowledge and having multiple people kind of talk you through it. I know when I first bought, when my wife and I, when we bought our first house, I tapped into our network, right? Asked a bunch of questions, to make sure I understood what I was doing and why. So, because really that first home was really the whole plan was always for it to be an investment property. So to make sure I was thinking about it, in the right way. So no, I mean, it's definitely power in numbers and asking questions. And so no, that's awesome, man. So, okay. So you bought your first home, and I'm sure and I know your story a little bit, right? So you bought several homes after that, right? And kind of continue that process a little bit.
Yep.
And then you started your own real estate investment firm, right? Which has grown to what it is today. What made you start that? What made you kind of switch gears a little bit and kind of start this whole firm?
Yeah. So Stratford originally started, it was me, Brandon Cheatham, and Valor Thomas. And I remember on one of the other houses that I bought, I bought with a hard money lender, and it was really a private lender. So it was, just a regular guy lending money. And I saw all the hustling I was doing, and I saw what he wasn't doing, and I saw how much money he made from the same transaction. I was like, man, wouldn't mind being on the other side of this transaction as well. So I met with him, and he kind of schooled me up on private lending. And I was like, man, I put together a group of people. We pulled some resources together, and we went in on a couple of loans with him. So I've been on the private lending side, and that's really how it started. We did that for maybe 3 or 4 years, and as I continued to grow and expand, and I graduated business school, I really wanted to do bigger projects and bigger properties. By that time, I was actually transitioning out of being a single family landlord, because I think I got up to 3 rentals, and I wanted to go for bigger projects. So I ended up selling all of my properties, and we closed out all of our loans. And about 2 years ago, with some partners, we bought a 72 unit apartment south of Houston. And we raised $1.5 million to close that transaction. And that was kind of like, okay, this is how you raise money and do bigger projects. And what I saw from that, similar to the private lending, because we brought in a bunch of our friends, was that you're able to impact a lot more people by doing that, and just instead of doing it on your own. And what I've learned, having been through the last 2 years owning that apartment, is that, like you've already mentioned, there's strength in numbers. And I am very fortunate. I feel that I sold the properties when I did, even though prices are appreciating right now. Mm-hmm. I really think about being a single family landlord by myself over the last 18 months, particularly the last 12 months. Because in September of last year, there was an eviction moratorium, and that I don't have to go into how terrifying that is as a landlord to say, wait, someone doesn't have to pay, but all of my bills are still due. Mm-hmm. How is this supposed to work? I read so many articles of single family landlords just, and that was their retirement. And I don't mean to scare people out of investing in real estate, but especially on your own, but, that was really difficult. But for our apartment, because we had partners and we had more people invested, mm-hmm. I mean, we were fine. We had our problems through COVID, just like everybody else. But there wasn't a time where I thought, if I was on my own, I definitely would have thought about, man, I may lose some of these. And when you're a single family landlord, most of your loans are recourse, and they're fully guaranteeing them. And with the cash reserve you have, and then the money starts going, and people aren't paying, and people getting rude with you because they're not paying and they don't have to pay. You say you're going to get rent relief, but are you really going to get rent relief?
Mm. And then the bank knocks on your door and says, "Hey, can I have those keys?"
Yeah. Yeah. So it was really a testament to really what I thought about before I sold them was like, I want to be a part of bigger projects,
Yep.
bring in more resources and make it so that everybody wins, because obviously the investors still need to get a win for contributing capital. And yeah, it's been an interesting last year and a half.
Yep.
Through the pandemic. So
yeah, no, see, but I think that's interesting and really good perspective that, I don't want people to miss, right? Because I mean, there's risk in everything, right? And it's not just real estate. Anything you do, there's some form of risk, right? So, but understanding what those risks, right, are always definitely key. But before you decide to make an investment decision, but I mean, like the pandemic, right, hit our economy and pretty much the world economy severely, right? And so when you hear those moratoriums go out, you feel for people who can't pay, right? And lose their jobs and all that, et cetera. But people forget, like, hey, there's somebody who owns that building. There's somebody who owns that, that home or that apartment or whatever, somebody, right? And it's not always just a big, no-name bank who's got, billions of dollars in reserves. It can be Junious Williams IV, who's using all that rental income to feed his family, right? And then you don't pay those bills if you can, right? But you choose not to, right? Because let's not lie. It's not like act like there aren't people out there that won't do that too, right?
Sure.
You affect him too, right? You affect those folks too. So it goes both ways, right? I think it's important for people to understand both sides of the coin, so because that's a part of it, right? That's a part of the risk, right? So
yeah, I mean, I don't know that I say this now, but I don't know that I would do another deal by myself. I mean, I would need probably 4 times the equity required to feel comfortable, just because I just feel like something is going to go wrong. You don't know what it is, but where you really lose in real estate is where you run out of money and you're not able to deal with the issues. And the way I was financing the 3 deals that I got to, I mean, I was saving every penny, and it was by my shoelace to get in these deals. So it wasn't like I had $100,000 in the bank and it's like, yeah, I'll cover the mortgages for a year. That's not how I was operating. But with a bigger operation and a bigger opportunity, we were able to have funds in the bank to withstand, the punishment that the pandemic doled out. So for going in with other people, and obviously you got to find people that like and trust to do that.
Yeah, no, man. I think, like I said, I think that's why it's really interesting perspective, because a lot of times when we think about real estate investing, or if you got a 9-to-5 and you want to invest on your own, right, as a side gig or passive income, you usually think about that as a 1-person or partner, 2-team, kind of partnership, right? And so, but like you said, there's power in numbers, for people that know what they're doing. So next question, right? So some folks, right, that want to get involved in real estate, but don't have the time, right, to dedicate to learning, all about it, or they don't want to swing a hammer. Like, hey, look, I like my job. I don't want to do this, but I want to invest, but I don't have time to do that. Like, what, how does maybe investing in a firm like yours provide maybe more passive returns or wealth versus those that want to keep their day job? Does it make sense?
Yeah. I mean, for one, just like we've already talked about, I've been in real estate for 7 years. I went to school, I've invested my own, I've seen a lot of stuff. So for someone just starting out, I mean, you're competing not only with me and the resources I have, you're competing now with Wall Street, Blackstone, and like all the biggest companies in the world, where if we come together, we're able to be nimble, and we're able to pool enough resources to compete, in the niche that we're trying to compete in. Additionally, if someone chooses to invest with us or reach out to us, I mean, you get to tap into the experience that I've already had, the knowledge that I have, the track, the track record that we already have. You can come by and see our projects, and you can see that it's, we are who we say we are. So, it's similar to, if Mark Zuckerberg came to you and said, hey, man, I got this idea for a website, I'd probably give him as much money as I possibly could. His track record is, it's like, he created Facebook, right? He's like the youngest billionaire ever. Clearly, I'm not Mark Zuckerberg, but it's kind of the same thing. It's like, man, I've basically devoted my life to doing this. And wherever someone is in their life, like they devoted their life to doing that at that time, however old they are. And to think that, I don't know, that was going to sound bad, but like to think that a newbie was going to start and you could just learn all the other stuff and catch up to speed, that's really, really difficult. And especially when there are other avenues. I think had I known about investing with other people when I was, 10 years ago or just coming out of school, I would have done that and would have learned through that osmosis. And then, maybe as things continue to progress, I would have looked at doing things on my own, but that wasn't my path.
Yeah, no, man, but it's still an important path to go through, right? Because you learn from that experience and then realize, the difference between both sides, So, because you think about it like this, it's kind of like if you decide to, invest in the stock market, right? But you just, you pick any stock, right? Just based on your own knowledge versus maybe talking to, an actual investment advisor, right? And somebody who knows and is trained, on
this is what they do.
This is what they do, right? Like, no, I'm not going to listen to them. I know better, right? And it's not to say that you can't win, right. A broke clock, hits at least twice, every time. So, but at the same time, why would you ignore this wealth of knowledge, this opportunity right here? It may come.
It goes back to my conversation earlier. It's like, dude, I was getting by.
Yep.
I bought the 3 rentals. Like I said, I didn't have enough in savings. I would have, luckily I got out when I did, but I think that's more luck than me being some superstar real estate investor. I had a feeling that being a part of bigger deals was going to be safer than trying to do smaller deals on my own. And I feel like I would have gotten cleaned out during the pandemic. I had 3 properties. If one of them stopped paying, I was going to be in a bad spot. I just had a baby and I have all this other stuff going on. And, I have life happening around me. Mm-hmm. And, when the pandemic started, I work in home building. So it was like, how is this going to work? End up working out great for some reason. Everybody started buying houses, which was great. But had that gone the wrong way and say I lost my job, and then I have people not paying properties, it's like I'm just gonna have to fold up and I'm gonna give them all back.
Yeah.
So, I obviously I'm biased because I've gone through that experience, but I think being able to invest with other people, at the end of the day, if something were to have really gone wrong, we could have said, hey, can everybody? We had 40 investors, I think, in the apartment. Man, can everybody put in $5,000? That's $200,000. Yeah. That is a year's worth of debt service on an apartment. And we would have been just fine had it been, hey, you got to pay for this house by yourself. And that's $12,000 a year because your mortgage is $1,000.
Yeah.
And then you got 3 of them. So if all 3 go wrong, it's like, okay, like how am I supposed to have $36,000 just come out of the thin air in the middle of a pandemic? I got lucky, I think. Yeah. I just changed my strategy, really.
Got you. No, man. No, like I said, that's the important part is knowing when to pivot, knowing how to pivot, right? But I think hopefully this opens up folks' eyes, right, to just different opportunities, when it comes to real estate. Like, there's not just one way to do it, right? So, hey, thanks for tuning in. Be on the lookout for part 2 of this episode releasing next week. Make sure you click the subscribe button. Until next time, keep building.